watching, a subscriber asked he or she is an adult beginner violinist without a teacher. And how does one know what's the best exercise? And how does one know when to move to the next tune? Right? A good question. A lot of violinists, even in my studio, have started on their own with tutorial videos like this. So good for you. I'll be happy to give you some tips and some ideas. In general, it would be good if you can start practicing just simple open string, just to understand without being too much caught up with a lot of difficult technical issues. Just simply holding the violin without any restrained shoulder or left hand, just playing, getting used to a nice tune of the sound, keeping the bow in the center, just understanding how to keep nice sound and the different degrees of your right arm height. And then I would encourage you to start like that. It may seem overly simple, but like that you're tuning your ears to a nice tone quality. Once you're done that, it would be good for a beginner violinist to have some kind of technical study and a tune that would go along. The reason being, I am all for playing a nice tune, a nice piece. That is a reason why most of us like to learn how to play violin. But it is also important for you to be able to just work on specific technicalities so that you have enough tools to be able to play all these beautiful violin tunes. There are many technical books out there. One of my favorite is Dounis, D-O-U-N-I-S. There's a beginner's book. It's called Fundamental Technical Studies on a Scientific Basis. So you might be able to find it in a store. Google about it. When you find this Dounis Fundamental Technical Studies, it is very important for you to read the instructions. So so it starts like it has a lot of forewords, explains about it, how important it is for all the violinists to understand and have a plan of specific physical movement before they start playing. That way, whatever your action is result of your plan, not just a reaction of unplanned movement. Yeah, that way you have things controlled. And also precisely he writes down how to practice it and so on. So I encourage you to read those. It's important to understand what these exercises are about. He talks about in this book keeping a balanced fingertips and then understanding the bow so that you can have even and beautiful tone. Most of the ideas are brilliant. I greatly agree with. Just one thing that I am not convinced is he sometimes talks about having like vigorous finger action. That one I would leave it out because from my experience, it's important to keep your fingertip very nice and light. That way you have all the fingers under control. If it's too heavy, it tends to get tense, therefore you are out of tune, or it's harder to shift or harder to adjust. So only that part, that vigorous finger action, I would leave it out, but other than that, the rest are fantastic idea from Dounis. When you look at the books, every exercise has a little explanation and notes what you should pay attention, and do take time so that don't just start reading the notes. And also it's not about playing the whole page or anything like that. Rather take one bar. If it's like it starts talking about the evenness or balance of your four fingers. Here one should pay attention that not any finger gets overly heavy. So all four fingers are all evenly balanced and agile and relaxed. Or in the next chapter or one of the chapters, he talks about a smoothness of string crossing. like something like that. And when you do that, try that on yourself. Understand the instruction, what is there. You don't necessarily have to play the slurred as it's written. Rather, try to follow what is printed, what is written out, the written out instruction, rather than the printed music. If the slurs are too long, break the slurs, meaning instead of doing all notes in one bow, try to do 2, 3, or 4 bows, whichever make your body nice and relaxed. So that's something that I would encourage you to try. Duni's technical book, Fundamental Technical Studies. And then it would be great if a beginner violinist could combine something, a nice tune. If it's complete beginner, would be great to start something that you can play on 2 strings, A and E, D and A, doesn't matter. And then it would be better if it's made with a quarter note, which is 1 beat, and half notes, which has 2 beats. So simple 1 or 2 beat notes. That way you can focus on a simple melody, but rather simple melody without worrying too much about rhythm. Also, this violinist is having a lot of fun using an app, something to check the intonation. Intonation app or intonation tuner, they're all great help, but one has to be careful that you don't become overly dependent on it. So use this one as a tool so that you can be independent, so you can hear on your own. How do we do that? Sometimes the quickest way, I'm not against using it, but I am against using it too much. For example, do tune violin with a tuner if it's helpful. But let's say you're learning something like this. That's right. And I want to know whether I'm in tune or not. And I wonder, how do I know whether I'm in tune? I cannot tell. So try to find the notes either by comparing with the open strings, or just starting from open string, find one by one. Let's say your first note is D. And then if you just play D, you can just compare with open D. If this is in tune, this is low D, and this is high D. Supposed to resonate and be in tune together. That should be in tune. Let's say you're not in tune. Alright, so then you would say, I can tell that's not in tune, but I don't know whether I'm too high or too low. So the way you improve your hearing so that you can be more in tune is first, play the note that you want to be in tune to. So let's play, in this case, the open string. Then sing that note. When you hear the note in your head, it's a little easier to identify whether it's in tune or then my note is then the note that I want to be tuned to is when you do that one after the other, you might happen right away or might take some time, but at some point you will be able to tell whether you are high or low. Then move, whether you find it high or low, or even if you can find it, adjust something. Move little by little. See if you get closer to the tune. That's one way of doing it. And of course you can always in this process use your intonation app or any other tuner to be a help to that so you can tell. But even if it's not perfectly in tune, the tuner said you're not perfectly in tune, but try to just sing the note that way. You can eventually make it in tune without any machine, because that's how often we play on the stage or anywhere. Most violinists play without machine, as you know. Yeah. So I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for watching. Please give me thumbs up below and subscribe. Bye bye.